My name is Dave Masen, and I'm a teacher here at Avondale High School. I was born and raised in Detroit till the end of my middle school career, and it shaped me in some really unique ways. To this day, I love the city of Detroit. Going downtown was a special treat, and that was before the Riverwalk area and all of the development in Midtown and stuff that was taking place. I've always loved the city, and I love it to this day. So. It impacted me more probably when I moved out of Detroit in middle school and started making new friends in the suburbs. We moved out to Royal Oak. And I still keep in touch with some of my African American friends from the old neighborhood. We were the only white family that I knew of the entire time that we lived there. And that wasn't strange to me because that's how I was born and raised. I knew we were white and I knew they were black, but those were my friends. And we hung out, we did everything together, we did life together through middle school. So when they would come to visit me, the friends that I was making and the friends that I would play with in the suburbs, suddenly were not available to play, and parents answered the door instead of the kids who usually answered the door when they saw me coming down the block, or my brother and I coming down the block. So that was eye-opening to me, as my friends from Detroit would explain to me that's because we're here, that they're not coming out to play. And I really didn't buy into that until I talked to some of those friends later, and they were like, "Yeah, my parents, where are those black people from that you were hanging with?" And I was like, "Yeah, what?" So that was more eye-opening when I moved into the suburbs than it was before. So Detroit shaped me in a lot of ways, in just being open to different cultures, being open to different experiences in life and different backgrounds and just different stories. And that's actually what probably got me so interested in history and in becoming a history teacher. I graduated from Wayne State University with 3 majors in history, English, and it was called Youth Studies, which was like an adolescent sociology and psychology degree. It was fun. But I've been working with students for about 26 years, and it's all about story and the power of story. Their story, my story as I try and relate to their story, and then history, of course, is nothing but stories. And for me to see students insert themselves into that history and to see the relevance of history as they embrace their own stories and see how their story has been impacted by history. And then to move beyond that to get students agency over their own history by acknowledging that they're making history every day is what I'm passionate about in teaching history and in partnering with students to do so. And in the process, I've been challenged by students and their own stories to see their limitless potential, to see them as unique human individuals that have a lot to give and a lot to offer. And for me as a teacher, it's about tapping into that and doing what I can to pull that out regardless of circumstances and the rest. So that's a little about me and my background. As far as my family goes, I'm the oldest of 8 children. And that was, I guess, a little bit weird even then, but I don't know, I thought it was cool because we always had somebody to play with if our neighbors were busy. And I'm currently married to a teacher. Her name is Erin. We went to high school together and liked each other in high school, but never dated, and fate, or whatever you want to say, got us reacquainted later in our college days. We dated for 3 years, got married, and I have 4 beautiful children, 2 of which attend here at the high school and the middle school in Avondale School District, and the other 2 are at Troy School District. Jonathan, Abby, Anna, and Honora, in that order. So yeah, that's a little bit about my background. So photography was always, it was a passionate hobby for about 16 years. So I guess I can't say always, but for 16 years it was a passionate hobby of mine. And in 2007, 2008, when the bottom dropped out of the economy, it was an opportunity for me to put all of the gear that I had accumulated in that 16 years to work. And took about 8 to 9 months and formulated a business plan and got a website, established, and had a pretty deep portfolio already from friends who would ask me to shoot their weddings and do favors for family and things like that. My mom owns a daycare, so I just did a bunch of shoots for free for the daycare kids and their parents. And it was just really fun. People have always been a part of my vocational life. Because it's just something that I enjoy. I enjoy interacting with people on a daily basis. People is the one thing that from like a digital, like computer perspective, as far as that technology has come, it still can't duplicate the subtleties of facial, muscular, skeletal, uniqueness that makes everyone just that individual that they are. So I've always enjoyed photographing people. It's primarily portrait photography that I do. And I've been in business for about 8 or 9 years, and it has been wonderful. And it's all been word of mouth, and it's grown and grown and grown every year. I've done in the last 9 years, probably in the last 3 years particularly, it's picked up quite a bit. Probably about 200 to 250 weddings. Probably at least as many senior pics, and probably a few more family portraits, infant portraits, children's portraits. And it's fun. It's fun interacting with different people coming from different backgrounds with different expectations. And it's fun to be able to capture life as it happens through the camera. And that's what motivates me to do the photography thing, as well as the fact that it's a supplementary income. We don't make a whole lot as teachers. Photography for me was a passion hobby that was a natural transition into a way for us to make some money when the economy took a downturn. I actually had lost my job at a church that I was full-time with because they were shrinking their staff and they just couldn't do it. So it's been fun to see the business grow and to see the relational side of things continue to formulate as it has been for much of my life. I've been working with students and people in various situations, nonprofits, churches, etc. for the last 24 years prior to coming to Avondale. So that's the natural extension that photography has been in my life, and that's why I do it. All right, so something I'm asked about quite a bit is my food days. And in case it isn't obvious, I like to eat. I enjoy food of all kinds. And to me, food has always been culture. And food is culture, period. What we eat at our homes and what informs what we eat in the sense of our traditions and our own cultures and our own backgrounds, and then the twists that we put on that from family member to family member over generations is definitely a cultural experience. And it's something at Avondale that I think needs to be celebrated. Because we bring so many different things to the table, quite literally, when it comes to my food days. So that's where it came about. I teach world history, and I've been teaching world history here. I love teaching world history because of the fact that we get to study so many different cultures and civilizations. And food is such a great real-time reflection of not only the uniqueness of those cultures, but the diffusion of those cultures between one another, and how those cultures have impacted each other's palates and their tastes and the things that they like to eat and what they like to consume. And then the social aspect of food seems to be the thing that brings everybody to the table, literally and figuratively, to have that dialogue and to have those really good conversations. So that's why the food days, I think, are a big success. Besides, everybody is hungry. They're hungry all the time. You guys are all growing. So as far as high school kids go. So it meets real needs. It also kind of promotes, the environment that is Avondale in the sense of this diverse community that we teach in, that we live in, that we learn in, and that we love. So that's the fun of my food days. So I get a lot of questions about the mural in my room. What's it about? Who painted it? And that's pretty cool. A young lady that I have employed to shoot a lot of those weddings with me as a second photographer is actually a graduate from 2007 from here, from Avondale. Her name's Allie Vogt, and she was on the soccer team. She was big into the arts here. She's a phenomenal artist, has a great eye for photography. And when I got hired here in the district, she was starting through Wayne State. She graduated with an art major from Wayne State. She was doing murals publicly and professionally in the city of Detroit. Fire department and schools and different people have been asking her and paying her to do murals. So I sheepishly began to ask her if she'd be willing to do a, yes, I will. She cut me off. She knew what I was going to ask. She was very excited to come back, and Allie actually did this mural. This is actually a picture of Pangea, which is, it's a debunked myth that there was one large landmass in the world until a cataclysmic event, geological event took place and broke up the continents and the countries into what we have today. So this is Pangea because it's a representation of all of the countries in the world in one 2D image, which is why it works. And in the context of this image, all of the modern boundaries of the modern countries in existence today were drawn in. So it's a reflection of my classrooms, it's a reflection of globalization and how I want to teach. And then the words here, all right, is basically a feedback loop for history that begins with liberty and freedom and how civilization is established to abundance. Out of that abundance, though, comes new problems like greed. Greed then forms a spirit of apathy. From there comes dependency, and that leads to slavery or bondage. But with a renewed sense of faith, and that can be religion, that can be in humanity with ideas like humanism and in the Renaissance, that just things that were introduced in the process of solving new problems. People are able to find courage again, and from there gain their freedom again in society. And it's something that I want students to be reminded of constantly, and it surrounds the globe because this is happening all over the globe all the time. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally, but there are different places all over the globe that are at different parts of this feedback loop. And the quote is from Arnold Toynbee, who was a business owner, and it's a speech he gave in the 1950s. The competent citizen is certainly not a fool if he insists upon using the compass of history when forced to sail uncharted seas. And he was speaking to other businessmen about the dangers even of capitalism in New York, all right? Which of course we equate hand in hand with the epicenter of capitalism and the stock exchange and all that good stuff. So this is just a reminder that we're making history every day. We need to learn from that history and make the corrections necessary to make sure that this feedback loop doesn't get stuck in one particular area. That if we are in bondage, that we're moving out of that place. That if we're becoming apathetic, that we move out of that place so that we can understand what true liberty is all about. So that's the story behind the mural. It's something interesting to look at. It's something, that's fun to discuss. And this is art that was loaned, all right, and gifted to me from an ex-Avondale student, an Avondale alumni, Ali Vogt, from 2007.